Hello, Coach Jason here with Chess for Anyone. This video is part of the online course on chessforanyone.com. This video is going to be going over the knight. We're going to see the starting positions of the knight. We'll see how it moves. We'll look at how it captures. We'll also look at some forks in there as well. So in the starting position, the knight is one of the few pieces that can actually move in the opening because knights can actually jump over the other pieces. So the knights start on the B and G files on both sides of the board on the first and 8th rank, and they can actually just jump right over. They go up 2 over 1, so a knight could jump there. They could also jump up 2 and over 1 this way, but that's not really a great move. You know, in the chess game, we're trying to control the center of the board, and if you notice, so this knight is actually controlling, the black knight is controlling these two squares right here. That's where he can attack. But this knight here, this one on F3, is attacking these two squares, H4 and G5, but it's also controlling E5 and D4. So it's got 4 forward squares, including 2 central squares. So oftentimes when I see somebody move their knight out like that early in the game, I'm thinking, okay, we got a beginning player here. They don't realize how much more powerful the knight is in this position. So again, the knight goes up 1, 2 over 1, so he could go here, or he could just go up 1 over 2, so he could go, like I said, D4. Or he could go up 1 over 2, and he could go over here. But they say that knights on the rim are grim. They just don't, or dim perhaps. They don't have as many options. You actually want to centralize your knights if you can. So if we've got a knight in the center of the board, this well-centralized knight, they sometimes call him an octopus, because a knight that's centralized attacks 8 different squares at the same time. So this is the pattern of the knight attack, and notice that he will always land on a different color. So he's on white now. Any move that he would make, he would land on black, and then the next move he would land on white. And this knight could capture any one of these these pawns here, and he would just land on that square. Go back, we could capture this one, although you probably wouldn't want to, because as you know, pawns capture that way. So here we have the knight. So he goes up 2 over 1, or he can go up 1 over 2, or he can go down 2 over 1, or he can go down 1 over 2. And like all the other pieces besides the pawns, of course, the knight can go backwards and forwards. He can go 1 square and then go right back to the square he was on, although that's usually not a good idea. Especially in the opening, you're trying to get all your pieces out, get your knights and bishops developed quickly, centralized. So let's just scoot this guy over 1 square, and we'll see. So right now he's attacking all dark squares, but if I move him over 1, now he's just attacking the light squares because he's on a dark square. And you really got to memorize this pattern. A lot of students do struggle with the knight, which is why I waited for last for this one, so it wouldn't be quite so intimidating. But a really cool thing about the knight is that he can jump over other pieces. So there could be, this is not very realistic, but if there were a bunch of rooks here, it doesn't matter. The knight can actually jump over and capture anyway. You can't block a knight. There's no way of blocking a knight. So we've seen the ranged attackers, the bishop, the rook, and the queen. And now we have the knight, which is not a ranged attacker. It takes him several jumps to get across the board, but he does have the advantage that he can just jump over players. So the knight is definitely an interesting piece. Okay, in this scenario, it's white to play, and we can actually play a forking move, the knight. The knight is actually a pretty notorious forker. Difficult for a lot of people to see their moves and threats, because you have to kind of, in order to see that they're going to fork something, you kind of have to see where they would be in 2 moves in 2 different places at the same time. Here, the knight can actually, well, so you can pause your video and think about it if you like, but I'll go ahead and show you here now. So it's actually knight e5 check, attacking the king and the rook at the same time. We've got to save the king, and now we win that. Okay, our last example here. So it's again black to move and fork two of white's pieces. And this is really a devastating move. This is why the knights are so notorious. So you go ahead and pause your video if you like. This is actually a fairly deep one because there's two tactics involved at the same time here. This is actually a fork and a pin combined. The queen pins the bishop to the king, therefore we can play this up 2 over 1, this checking move. So we always want to be looking for every check. Brutal checking move. So at first maybe this looked like a bad move. You know, you might consider it, oh, well that's a check, but yeah, it's a bad move. No, because of the pin, it's a devastating move, and now we go ahead and win the queen. This concludes our video on one of the most unique pieces on the chessboard, the knight. The only one that can jump out, and it's one of the first pieces you can move. You can move the pawns or the knight to start the game. If you haven't already, check out my chessforanyone.com site. Under courses, there is an introduction to chess course that this video is made to be a part of. And also please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, as I will be putting out new chess videos at least twice a week. My first video of the week will be an intro video for now, and my Thursday video will be a intermediate video. I'm Coach Jason. Thanks for watching, and have an excellent week.